to stand the values of who we are and to be able to point people to what we feel is really science-based approaches to our areas.
Tonight, 3 Western states joining together to provide their own public health guidance, including vaccine recommendations, a new sign of pushback against Trump administration policies. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. The governors of the 3 states involved in this alliance say they are losing trust in the Trump administration's health officials. Today, we learned Washington, Oregon, and California have all joined together in this effort. As Fox 13's Frankie Thompson reports tonight, their primary focus is to provide evidence-based, unified recommendations on immunizations.
As tensions flare at the federal level surrounding vaccine safety, the West Coast is banding together, making public health a priority.
We wanted to make sure we were providing data and information based on best science that was available to our constituents within our states, so they know where the trusted voices in this work.
The governors of Washington, Oregon, and California announced the launch of the West Coast Health Alliance. It's a united effort to provide vaccine guidance separate from the CDC. The shift away from federal recommendations comes after state leaders cited a lack of faith in U.S. Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the destruction of the CDC under the Trump administration, and the new limitations on who is allowed to receive a COVID-19 vaccine.
It's been concerning to watch what has been happening over a period of time under this federal administration around the CDC and starting to remove data, starting to remove some of the science-based process that we have relied on for so many years.
Dennis Warsham, Washington's Secretary of Health, says he's been working closely with the West Coast Health Alliance. In its early stages, the alliance pledges to ensure the public has credible information and access to COVID vaccines.
We as an alliance will work together to review the data that is being put out and the recommendations from these academies and these national organizations in order to make recommendations for the people here in the state of Washington, Oregon, and California.
For those who need insurance to pay for their vaccines, Warsham says they won't have to worry, as the state's Office of Insurance Commission requires health carriers to cover those costs.
There is no denial, if you will, around vaccine coverage on insurance plans. That has not changed in the state of Washington.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services criticized places like Washington, saying the state's tarnished trust in public health agencies. Their statement says the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices remains the scientific body guiding immunization recommendations in this country, and HHS will ensure policy is based on rigorous evidence and gold standard science, not the failed politics of the pandemic. Right now, the alliance is focused solely on COVID vaccines, as the CDC guidance for other immunizations have not changed. But should the federal government shift its recommendations on other public health matters, Warsham says the West Coast will adjust.
We unfortunately are in an environment where politics have become retaliatory, and I don't know what their actions will be, but we need to continue to lean into our values.
Frankie Thompson, Fox 13 News.
And as West Coast states form a health alliance on the other side of the country, Florida is set to become the first state in the nation to eliminate all vaccine requirements, including for children to attend school. The state Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladabo, made that announcement today alongside Governor Ron DeSantis. Ladabo said every vaccine mandate is, quote, wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. The American Medical Association said Florida's plan, quote, would undermine decades of public health progress. We turn now to Northern California, where a fast-moving wildfire has destroyed much of a historic gold rush town. The fire was fueled by strong winds as it swept through the town of Chinese Camp, burning a number of historic homes and buildings. This was one of a series of fires sparked by lightning in Calaveras and Tuolumne counties. Evacuation orders still remain in effect tonight for several communities in this area. One man managed to save his home with the help of some friends as other homes burned around them.
I had accepted it was going to burn when I left the first time. And then when it made it, I was pretty confident. We came back and it was like getting worse. It was pretty touch and go for a while. But like I said, I had all my friends help me. Just everybody was busting their butt to get it done. And that's a pretty good community around here. We were lucky, honestly. Like none of this really matters to me. All these other houses, I mean, there's 3 houses in a row right there that are just gone to the ground. There's nothing savable.
Tonight, there is no containment on this fire. More than 13,000 acres have burned so far. In Washington, fire crews are battling the wildfire, which is burning in western Yakima County near Mount Rainier. Authorities say it was sparked several days ago by a lightning strike, and it's burning in some very heavy and thick timber. More than 2,700 acres have burned, and there is no containment on this fire tonight. For more on the conditions those fire crews are facing, let's bring in KTVU's chief meteorologist, Mark Tamayo. And obviously, Mark, these firefighters have their work cut out for them moving forward.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. We are dealing with some heat around both of these fire zones of the lightning complex, as you mentioned, near Chinese camp in California. 94 degrees for tomorrow, low to mid 90s right around the Wildcat fire, and with a southwesterly breeze at about 5 miles an hour. Dealing with the heat up in the Pacific Northwest, all these yellows and reds showing up on this map here, as you can see here. The heat advisory is in place until Thursday, 8 p.m. And then, as you can pick out in the areas in red here, that is an extreme heat warning through a good portion of Thursday until 8 p.m. This was a scene today in Seattle showing you some haze out there, 84 degrees earlier this afternoon. So another warm day out there, warm to hot day. In the San Francisco Bay Area, this was San Francisco, 68, the bottom portion of your screen, picking up on some of that fog kind of moving back into the picture. A cooler pattern for the Bay Area. And then in Phoenix, we are showing you some sunshine, a temperature today of 109 degrees. But tomorrow, they could actually have some thunderstorms, and then they actually have already a flood watch prepped, as you can see, as we do take this into your Thursday and into Friday. They could have some heavy downpours, so flood watch already issued for Thursday and into early Friday morning. Right now, current temperature is Phoenix, 100 degrees. Las Vegas is 93. Reno's checking in 80, and then Portland, Oregon, still in the lower 80s at 81. As we show you the big picture on the satellite, and actually going to switch over the radar right now, we're going to show you the rain showers showing up in portions of northern Arizona, as you can see to the north of Phoenix. And then as we move the maps here, up in portions of Oregon, a little bit of a circulation here, so some scattered rain from Medford all the way to Portland right now. Here is the plan for Seattle tomorrow with partly to mostly sunny skies, pretty much the same forecast for Denver. We are tracking those thunderstorms in the Phoenix area that could lead to some downpours, some heavy downpours tomorrow. A warm day in Southern California, and San Francisco has the fog in the morning. Here is the forecast model. This is tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, the Fox weather model. You can see what happens into the afternoon hours, into portions of Arizona, parts of Utah, parts of Arizona, those thunderstorms developing tomorrow afternoon. And then it looks like the fog hanging out near portions of the California coastline. So here is the forecast for tomorrow. As you can see, Seattle, a sun-cloud mix with some sunshine. San Francisco, some fog in the morning. Southern California looking pretty good with temperatures in the 80s. Some 90s for Denver tomorrow, and then we'll keep an eye on those thunderstorms in the Phoenix area. You can see, though, look at this. We're not talking about any triple digits, mainly in the 90s, because those thunderstorms, at least for tomorrow, could be pretty active in the Thursday forecast. Alex.
All right, we'll certainly keep an eye on that. Yep. Mark, thank you. The Los Angeles woman known as the ketamine queen pleaded guilty today in connection to the overdose death of Friends star Matthew Perry. 42-year-old Jasveen Sanya admitted to 5 federal charges, including selling the ketamine that killed the actor. She faces up to 65 years in prison when she's sentenced in December. Perry's mother and stepfather were inside the courtroom today. Perry was best known as playing Chandler Bing on the series Friends. He had long battled addiction. Perry was found dead inside his Pacific Palisades home in October of 2023. In L.A., taxpayer dollars are being put towards security for former Vice President Kamala Harris. Fox 11's Cristina Gonzalez explains some people are worried this will set back a city that's working through a budget crisis.
Yeah, I do agree.
No, absolutely not.
Disagreement in Brentwood over LAPD officers parked outside the home of former Vice President Kamala Harris, which sources tell Fox 11 is happening around the clock. It seems local officials have decided to provide Harris with dignitary protection after President Trump ended former President Biden's agreement to extend her Secret Service coverage. In a statement to Fox 11, Mayor Karen Bass writing that, quote, "This is another act of revenge following a long list of political retaliation in the form of firings, the revoking of security clearances, and more. This puts the former vice president in danger, and I look forward to working with the governor to make sure Vice President Harris is safe in Los Angeles."
As a public person, as a former vice president, she's entitled to that.
Former vice presidents usually get 6 months Secret Service protection after leaving office. But Harris's had been extended to July of 2026 by President Biden until Trump canceled it last week. Governor Newsom is in discussions to extend her CHP protection. Harris, who was the first African-American woman to serve as VP, did have an elevated threat level while in office and after her failed presidential campaign. The AP reported that recent threat assessments by the Secret Service found no credible threats as she begins a book tour that will take her around the world. One point, though, from this Brentwood resident.
Obviously, you could say that I disagree with her policies, but she took 4 years out of her life to serve the country, then becomes a broader community thing, too. So if you went to a bookstore, Kamala Harris is there, who would you want to protect you? LAPD or private security? Who's got your security in mind as well?
Now, we understand that these are actually Metro officers who were pulled off from other assignments. We did reach out not only to the mayor about this, but also LAPD, because it speaks to the higher costs, especially during our financial crises. So far, no answer about any of it. I'm Christina Gonzalez in Brentwood, Fox 11 News.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, the LA Clippers facing scrutiny. Coming up, why the NBA plans to investigate whether the team secretly paid millions of dollars to get around salary cap rules. Plus,
temperature is not too cold, not too hot, where you can have liquid water and life as we know it.
New signs point to the possibility of life on another planet. Tonight, Arizona astronomers share where they think it's possible. Also coming up tonight, why tonight's $1.4 billion Powerball jackpot is convincing some people here in the West to take a road trip.
We're sharing. We're going to form a corporation, and we're going to be the vice president, and you know, we'll get annuity money every year.
Very improbable, but you can't win if you're not in. So that's my philosophy.
A good philosophy. In about 45 minutes or so, Powerball players will find out whether they beat the odds to rake in $1.4 billion, the fourth largest Powerball jackpot in history, as some people here in the West taking long road trips just to buy a ticket. Powerball tickets are not sold in Nevada, but there's one store that straddles the state's border with California, and today long lines formed at that store with people dreaming big.
I'm gonna help all my friends that need help, and exactly like her, my sister over here, my other sister, Yasmin. Yeah, there you go. Of course, my daughter. We're sharing. We're gonna form a corporation, and we're gonna be the vice president, and you know, we'll get annuity money every year.
They've got it all worked out. You can buy Powerball tickets in all western states except Nevada, Utah, Hawaii, and Alaska. Your odds of winning, by the way, about 1 in 292 million. Well, today the NBA announced it plans to investigate whether the Los Angeles Clippers tried to get around salary cap rules. This investigation centers around a $28 million endorsement contract between small forward Kawhi Leonard and a California-based sustainability company, Aspiration Fund Advisor, that filed for bankruptcy this year. The agreement called for Leonard to be paid $7 million annually for 4 years. The Clippers and another company managed by Leonard were listed as creditors to Aspiration, and there's no evidence Leonard did anything to publicly endorse the company. Now, if the NBA finds rules were broken, the Clippers could face millions of dollars in fines. The Clippers put out a statement denying any rules were broken and saying in part, quote, "Any contrary assertion is provably false. The team ended its relationship with Aspiration years ago during the 2022-2023 season when Aspiration defaulted on its obligations." A Border Patrol sector chief says he sees nothing wrong with some of the controversial tactics that federal agents are using to detain suspected undocumented immigrants. Gregory Bovino insists immigration raids will continue undeterred in Southern California. Agents in that area have smashed car windows, blown open a door to a home, and patrolled a park on horseback.
Turn and burn to the next one. That's the other term we use here is turn and burn. What is turn and burn? We're not going to hit one location. We're going to hit as many as we can all over the Los Angeles region. We're going to turn and burn to that next target and the next and the next and the next, and we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop until there's not a problem here anymore.
The Trump administration's immigration enforcement crackdown in Los Angeles has resulted in more than 5,000 arrests so far. Tonight, a Colorado sheriff's deputy is resigning after he was disciplined for helping federal immigration agents arrest a college student from Brazil. The Mesa County Sheriff's Office says Alexander Zwink no longer works for them. That's prompted Colorado's Attorney General to drop the lawsuit filed against Zwink that says he illegally shared the 19-year-old's information with ICE back in June. The suit alleged he shared the teen's driver's license, car description, and direction of travel in a signal chat that ICE authorities could access. Zwink denies intentionally violating the state law that bars local officials from sharing information with federal authorities. The man accused of trying to tow an ICE vehicle during a raid in Los Angeles is now facing federal charges. This is video shared by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Prosecutors say it shows Bobby Nunez using his truck to tow a federal SUV last month while agents were in the middle of arresting an undocumented anti-ICE TikTok influencer. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Nunez could face 10 years in prison if he's convicted of theft of government property. In Montana, the man suspected of killing 4 people at a bar last month is now facing an additional charge. 45-year-old Michael Brown has been charged with 4 counts of murder, theft, and eluding police after that deadly shooting at a bar in Anaconda, Montana, back in early August. Court documents show prosecutors have added an attempted arson charge for allegedly lighting objects on fire inside the bar. Brown's family says the former soldier struggled with mental illness. He's pleaded not guilty in the case. We have an update tonight on the damage caused by Arizona's massive Dragon Bravo fire. A new assessment shows 106 buildings have been destroyed along the Grand Canyon's north rim. That includes the park's famous lodge. A wastewater treatment plant was also severely damaged. Lightning sparked this fire back on the 4th of July. Tonight, more than 145,000 acres have burned, and containment on this fire now stands at 80%. In Oregon, crews are making more progress tonight on a wildfire that so far has burned over 35 square miles. As Fox 12 reporter Julia Lopez tells us tonight, several families have lost everything in the flat fire.
An 81-year-old man spent decades building this land up by hand, collecting cars, art. Now his home is one of just 5 burned down in the flat fire.
All I had on was a shirt and shorts, and that was it. Everything else is burned up.
Braxton Hawley spent 32 years making this property his home, piece by piece.
It was an old-timey log cabin with a wood-burning stove for heat.
He built his home not just by hand, but with love.
I love logs and wood. There's absolutely no drywall or formica in that cabin.
But there was a lifetime of treasures.
A 79 GMC pickup truck, 1990 Ford diesel truck, 1923 Bucket T, a 1974 Volkswagen dune buggy.
Outside, collectible bikes, cars.
I had a lot of collectible one-of-a-kind items like the old Indian beaded jackets, traditional archery bows. Everything in there was hand-carved.
Today, all melted or reduced to ash.
TV I was watching, all the lights went out. The next thing I know, the driveway's filled up with blue and red flashing lights, and they said it's time to get out of here.
The flat fire burned quickly. Hawley spent that night in his car and returned the next morning to this.
Total devastation. Me and the property look like Armageddon.
Nothing is left, not even photos to look back on. But his priority?
A roof over my head for the next night.
Turned to survival. With a melanoma diagnosis and a spinal cord injury, the 81-year-old is left with what can come next. The Lodge retirement community lowered its rates to accommodate Hawley, but insurance money will dry up in 6 months. He's living off of donations and an online fundraiser started by a friend.
So everything's sort of up for grabs right now.
As of midweek, officials consider the flat fire 67% contained, with level 1 and 2 evacuations remaining in effect in Deschutes County and Jefferson County. Suppression efforts will be turned over to local crews Thursday morning. Reporting from Sisters, Julia Lopez, Fox 12 Oregon.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, the countdown to World Cup matches here in the West is on tonight. What fans will face as they try to buy tickets. Also, Arizona scientists lay out new evidence of the possibility of life in outer space.
It seems like there might be a habitable zone giant planet there, and I think it would be surprising if we're the only life out there.
A University of Arizona astronomer says he's excited about the possibility there's life a few light years away from us. Fox 10's Brian Webb spoke with him and has more tonight on what scientists are learning about the Alpha Centauri solar system.
Alpha Centauri is the closest solar system to our sun, a mere 4 light years away or just down the road in space terms. And one potential planet there is catching the eye of an astronomer at the University of Arizona down here on Earth. This is NASA's rendition of the possible planet in question, orbiting around Alpha Centauri A, a solar system with 3 stars instead of 1. Think the movie Avatar.
A really fascinating system and the closest one to us, and it seems like there might be a habitable zone giant planet there. And going back to the movie Avatar, what would be more exciting is if there are moons orbiting this planet.
This potential planet is interesting for several reasons. It's relatively close to give us a better view, especially with the James Webb Telescope. And it looks like it might be in a habitable zone and come with things that life likes, like air and water.
But it's this so-called Goldilocks range in which the temperature is not too cold, not too hot, where you can have liquid water and life as we know it.
Kevin says if this is actually a planet, it's likely a gas giant, similar to Saturn and Jupiter. So it may end up being one of its moons that gives us the first and best chance of finding life somewhere out there.
I want to say absolutely, but I don't believe anything absolutely. But as close to confident as I can be, I think it would be surprising if we're the only life out there.
That potential planet is close enough we could theoretically send a robotic spacecraft to swing by and take a closer look, and do it in the coming decades. In Phoenix, I'm Brian Webb, Fox 10 News.
All right, certainly fascinating to think about that possibility. Finally tonight, the FIFA World Cup is coming here to the West Coast next year, and for the first time, organizers are adopting dynamic ticket pricing. The price ranges from $60 for a ticket all the way up to $6,700, depending on the match and obviously the seats you choose. But those limits could potentially fluctuate. Games here in the U.S. will be held across 11 different cities, including Santa Clara and Los Angeles in California, as well as Seattle, Washington. The first round of tickets is opening up next week on Wednesday, September 10th, for Visa cardholders to enter a draw period. A second early ticket draw begins October 27th, and a third random selection draw launches on December 5th. A lot of excitement about those upcoming matches. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. As always, a reminder here quickly that you can stay up to date on all the big stories we're covering across the West at our website, westcoastwrap.com. Have a great night.